Greetings and salutations, YouTube land. People back at it with not an unboxing video. Doing something a little different today. I recently had the fortune of attending CZW, Combat Zone Wrestling's, Tournament of Death 20 live. And I am going to just do a quick review of the event and show up a few things I picked up there. Let me tell you, I got some very interesting things, including one thing, well, I don't know if the likes of it has ever really been seen. It's unique. I did plan to put some footage of the event mixed into the video. However, when I tried to upload a short of one of the coolest moments, YouTube instantly flagged it and restricted it. And it's kind of a pain in the keister, so I'm only going to show a few photos that I think they'll allow. I might try to post one or two things that I don't think they should have any issue with. We'll see. However, I will say I've been uploading. I've been trying to do one a day on my Facebook page. There's a link in the description box down below that'll take you right to it. So I've been doing some reels on Facebook. They don't seem to have any issue with the violence, so I'm letting it go. So to begin, the event had some issues. It was supposed to take place in September. However, it's an outdoor event, and a tropical storm or the remnants hit the area. It takes place in Delaware, if you don't know. And they ended up postponing the event. Communication wasn't the greatest. I think it was Tuesday. The event was supposed to take place on Saturday. They said something that it's a rain or shine event. It's going to take place no matter what. And then Thursday, I think it was, they announced that they were postponing it. I had taken time off for work for it because it's about a 450 to 500 mile drive for me. So I had taken a 3 days off. I wasn't enough time for me to request the time off, so I had to beg my bosses, get a couple of favors worked out with some people to get me covered. Not fun, but the event happened. They also ran into a couple of issues with the originally announced people. Kid Bandit was supposed to be there. They're really making a big name for themselves on the indies. If you don't know them, they were ranked 232 or something like that in the PWI 500. Big draw, was really excited to see them. And then, unfortunately, they ended up having to back out due to injury. Also, with the delay, they never actually sent an email out to people who had bought tickets or anything. It was only listed on their social media pages, so I really hope nobody missed it and showed up. So communication could have been greater. And Kid Bandit announced their injury, and it was several days before they announced that they were out of the tournament, so would have liked a little more information on that. And then the day before the tournament, Oren Velt was supposed to be there, and he had a conflict with his shoot job, as he referred to it. So he ended up dropping at the last second. They did get replacements for them, but it was just, it kind of felt like one of those they're cursed shows. We got there, travel sucked. Literally the entire state of Massachusetts felt like it was under construction. We were backed up for hours, which should have been a 6 to 7 hour drive. Took about 11. It was not a fun day. Got to the hotel way later than I planned. Didn't get nearly enough sleep. They had announced the show was at 1. It didn't actually start till about 2. I don't really know what happened there. If it was supposed to be gates at 1, bell time at 2, it was kind of unclear. And also, they were kind of on a hard cap time wise because GCW was running in Atlantic City, which is about an hour away from where this event was, and they had promised people would get out in enough time to make it to Atlantic City. And that kind of affected the show, I think. So, anyway, on to the matches. I do have a list here because they have some weird names and I can't remember them all. The opening match was the previous year's winner, Bobby Beverly, defeating Eric Dillinger, who was, I think, Oren's replacement. I don't really remember. This was listed as a something for everybody match. It was a good match. It was relatively short, but it was a good opener. Had the usual deathmatch stuff, some light tubes, panes of glass, that sort of thing. They worked well together, and it was a fun match. I'd really like to see some more of Eric Dillinger, actually. I will say it was originally announced that it was going to be Bobby Beverly versus Mickey James in the first round. I'm sorry, Mickey Knuckles in the first round. My mistake. And a rematch from last year's final because Mickey got legit knocked out. And I'm not sure if the match ended earlier, if that was supposed to be the final or not. And they're supposed to have a Drunken Taipei death match. They ended up scrapping that and completely reworking the card. Up next was Mickey Knuckles versus Evil Incarnate Otis Cougar. Couldn't catch how he pronounced his name. In a swing for the fences match. This was a lot of fun. They had a lot of barbed wire bats and thumbtack covered bats and other sorted things to smash each other with. They worked really well together. It was decent length, good brawl, fun match. I'd like to see them match up again, actually, because they seem to really work well off of each other and play up to each other's strengths. Next was a match with a horrible name, straight up. It was a brain damage CTE death match featuring Shellac versus Eric Ryan. I thought the match was going to be like a lot of chairs and stuff like that. Honestly, the match never really seemed to take off. First of all, it's an atrocious name. Especially in deathmatch wrestling, but in wrestling in general, not something that should really be joked about. So I kind of thought that was in poor taste. They basically just had some doors and boards and stuff around, and a lot of those terracotta flower pots. And it was weird. Eric Ryan was doing this whole thing where he was trying to just have a wrestling match, and he was a lot smaller than Shellac, who, if you haven't seen, is jacked. And it was just weird. It would have been nice if he had cut a promo beforehand or something, saying that I'm a real wrestler, I'm not a deathmatch guy or something, because it just didn't make sense. Nobody in the crowd really seemed to understand what the heck was going on. And they never used all the stupid flower pots. They were everywhere, and they literally just smashed them on the ground, and that was it. I don't know if they were going for, oh, this is going to make it like we're getting cut up more or something, but it just never worked. And for a match that was described as a brain damage CTE match, I don't think I saw a single hit to the head. So yeah, it was definitely the weakest match of the night. Didn't work. Shellac moved on. No big surprise there. I don't think anybody was expecting Eric Ryan to win that one. Up next in the final match in the first round, and I will straight up say the best match of the night, was a Pits of Hell death match. No idea why they called it that. There weren't any pits of barbed wire or what do you call them, the spider web things. This was Big F and Joe, who made the semis last year, against Judge Joe Dredd. This was an insane match. Well worth watching. It's up on IWTV, Premier Sports Network, I think Fight. Well worth watching just for this match. It was awesome. It was a long match. I think it might have been the longest of the night. They beat the hell out of each other. They did a big walk and brawl segment through the crowd, everywhere except the part where I was sitting. Some fans had shown up in a school bus and sat on top of it in the GA section. Awesome idea. Gotta give them credit for that. They actually used the bus during the match. It was really cool. They did some sick spots. They actually did a slam onto one of the guardrails, and they broke the guardrail. They hit so hard, and they didn't have a replacement for it, so that section of the crowd was just open the rest of the night. Yeah, the final, at one point, they pulled out some raw rotisserie chickens, the big ones, and they were using those. I'm gonna try to put the footage of that in here because I don't think that should get nailed because it was pretty funny. But Big F and Joe ended up putting Judge Joe in like a clear plastic bag after covering him in lemon juice with all his open cuts, which if you work in a kitchen should make you wince like I am. Then he threw in, I think, some light tubes, the raw chickens, a bunch of thumbtacks, and just beat the hell out of him with a chair until the ref stopped the match. It was brutal. It was glorious. It was fun. It was one hell of a chicken recipe. At this point, they announced that there was going to be a half-hour break while they set up for the semifinals. I think it ended up being closer to an hour. It went on a long time. I hit the merch stands like 2 or 3 times out of sheer boredom during this. Now, this is something that bugged me is what happened next. The original plan was the semifinals were supposed to be both of them were going to be fans bring the weapons matches. It's what I know they did it last year. I think it's been a bit of a tradition. It's really fun. There's some crazy things. My son and I actually spent a decent amount of time and fair amount of money putting together and building a few things for this. They ended up totally scrapping the semifinals, just going to the finals. I think this was a response to getting everyone out in time for GCW, which kind of sucked. I would have liked... Losing 2 matches sucks. I mean, when you pay for a 7-match show, you only get 5. It's not great. And they didn't use the fans' weapons even in the finals. I would have liked to have seen them work them in. Instead, they had barbed wire on 2 sides of the ring. The other 2 were empty. And on the empty sides, they did bridges with, like, panes of glass. I think they had some boards and doors, some barbed wire on it. The bridges straight up didn't seem to work right. Early on, I think it was F and Joe and Shellac did a spot going through them, and it didn't break right, and Shellac literally ended up stuck in there and just had to smash his way out of it. And then they did like a brawl through the crowd, which once again, they didn't come to my area, so it sucked. It was tough to see what was going on. And then, they brawled for a bit, the basic, the usual stuff. If you've watched it, you pretty much know what I'm talking about. And then they did a spot that I think went really, really wrong with Bobby Beverly and Shellac. Bobby tried to, I think, powerbomb Shellac through the stuff outside, through like the bridge area, but either his back went out or he slipped lifting him or something, because it wasn't really like a slam. They kind of fell through it very awkwardly. They got stuck. Looked like they got like caught in the barbed wire or something. Mickey Knuckles and Big F and Joe tried to brawl away from that area, and they did some really cool stuff during this time, I will say. But they ended up eventually getting them out and helping them out of there. They like carried them out back where I'm assuming they received medical attention. And they didn't end up coming, either one of them, back out at the end for autographs or anything. So I think they got hurt legit. But F and Joe and Mickey kind of took it up a notch. They did a really cool spot with exploding barbed wire bats, which the video's up on my Facebook again. Check it out. I got some neat footage of that. And there was some stuff that this is part of the reason I think that they ended up cutting the match short because of the injuries. Because there was like a whole setup that they never even used. And then the finish involved the barbed wire. They didn't announce ahead of time. Was actually they had explosive on it. So they hit, it went off. It was really cool. I have some footage of that as well. So the match was marred by what I'm assuming were the injuries taking them out, but it was still a fun match and a great final. The crowd was excited. Big F and Joe, if you haven't seen him, is an incredibly unique looking individual. He's big, he's got a good build on him. He wrestles in what looks like tighty whities and usually some sort of a white dress shirt, or he was wearing like an XPW shirt. I'm assuming as a way to try to get some heat. He's actually really, really good, and I could honestly see him kind of following the Jon Moxley mold and making the jump to the bigger leagues, and like kind of leaving the death matches behind if he wanted. One other thing before I get to my pickups. Wow, this has gone way longer than I was expecting. Apologies for that. They had announced as a makeup thing for people who had bought tickets before the delay and still came. They were going to get free tickets to another show they did, but I just couldn't make it down for that show. And that they were going to do a photo op with all the competitors and the trophy. The way they made it sound was that, the way I was thinking anyway, is they were all going to be out there and you could get your photo taken with them, which would have been really cool. Instead, they all posed in the ring, but they only were facing towards the hard cam. So it kind of sucked because, like, I wasn't able to get a great shot of it because I couldn't get over there in time. My son got a shot for me, but wasn't great. And especially with, like, the long time in the beginning, I think there would have been plenty of time for them to just do it in merch and let each person kind of get their own. Especially since it was announced it was only going to be for those of us who had purchased tickets ahead of time, and then it just ended up being anybody who could get over there could get one. But on to what I got. Kudos to all of you who stayed through all that. First, I of course got the t-shirt, which featured the names of the 7 scheduled on the back. Yeah, Orrin made it without actually being there. So, that's pretty cool. I, of course, picked up a couple of promos. It was actually kind of weird because not many people were selling stuff. I would have expected more. This is Evil Incarnate Otis Cogger with the straight edge razor he loves to use. He used it on Mickey Knuckles, and it was pretty brutal. Then we have Churney winner Big F and Joe. Was actually a very nice guy afterwards. He was, of course, covered in blood, but he was really cool about like warning people before they touched him. And he did let us all know that they all have to be tested before they can compete in the event, so that you didn't have to worry too much. And also, what I thought was very nice of him is he had me take the photo out because he had him in like a protector because he was afraid he was going to damage it with how beat up his hands were. And I thought that was very nice of him as a collector. And now we go on to some of the more unique things I picked up. Number one is something I've been trying to avoid getting for a while, but I just couldn't resist this. It's a full-size turnbuckle pad. This was used at least in the last year's tournament as well as Tournament 20. They said it's signed by everybody from last year's, but I'm only counting 7 signatures unless there's one mixed in here I'm missing. But I thought this was pretty cool. It's got Insane Lane, Mickey Knuckles, I think Orin's on here, Big F and Joe. I don't remember. Oh, Bobby Beverly. I think that's actually him here. Yeah. It's pretty beat up, as you can see and expect, so you can tell it was definitely used. There's actually some dried blood on here from one of the matches. I do hope to add some of the people who were at 20 since they were there as well. I just wasn't able to get them, unfortunately. Now we have the piece that I can't believe I bought. I can't believe my wife didn't kill me when she saw it. So, you know that old saying, I don't know about art, but I know what I like. This is one of these where this just appealed to me. As most of you guys know, I'm a Patriots fan, and something about this just struck me. We have an event-used barbed wire covered door. It is broken, as you can see, as I think this was used in the Mickey James Otis Cougar match. Otis went through it. There is some blood on it. And yes, that is not rubber barbed wire. I also got this signed by Otis down here. Judge Joe signed it, as well as the tournament winner, Big F and Joe. I tried to catch Mickey Knuckles, but she wasn't out there long enough. It was while I was meeting Joe. Yeah, something about this just, I don't know, it appealed to the Patriots fan in me. I'm guessing you can figure out why. And yes, I made the over 400-mile journey home with this in the back of my vehicle while wearing a Patriots jersey and traveling through New Jersey. If I got pulled over, I was prepared to die. So what do you think? It was $100 for the turnbuckle pad, which I thought was reasonable since it's event used, and the door was a negotiation. I ended up getting it for $50, which I figured since the autographs are about $10 a piece, that was pretty fair. Now the only problem is, does anybody out there know how to display half of a door? I looked online for how to frame a door, and I only could find stuff from Bob Villa, and he never once discusses what to do with the barbed wire or how to protect the signatures. So if anybody out there has any idea, please let me know. I would love to hear it. Thought I caught myself. So yeah, quite the interesting pickup. Hope that was worth sitting through. God, is this thing really that long? So it's not going to be fun to edit. Well, I hope you guys stayed through and enjoyed this. I do want to say, if you're not a deathmatch wrestling fan, and you're a wrestling fan who kind of looks down on it, I will say, give it a try if you get the chance. I honestly was not into deathmatch wrestling at all. I used to watch some of the ECW stuff, but I kind of thought it was just idiots beating each other with light tubes, is literally how I described it. I went to last year's event because it was near my son's birthday, and it was what he wanted as his present. And I actually found it to be a lot of fun. Especially live, you can really get into it. The wrestlers really interact with the crowd a lot. They were yelling back at us when we would yell things. They seemed to appreciate some of my smart-ass remarks. Lord knows the guy next to me, who was pretty close to drunk off his keister, not high as a kite, seemed to love some of the comments I was yelling out, so yeah. If you have access, I think the event is well worth watching. If you see me, wave at the screen. If you were there, hey, you missed your chance to meet me. Yeah, despite the problems the event had, it was a lot of fun. I will probably try to go to next year's event. Hopefully things run a little smoother. Like I said, if you're not a fan of deathmatch wrestling, and you have a chance, give it a try. I actually walked away a fan, so hey. Hey, if you got through this, enjoyed this, shoot me that thumbs up. If you have anything to say, if you have any idea how I can display that tour, if you were there, if you have any cool stories, any questions about what it's like at the shows, shoot me a comment down below. I love hearing from you guys. Throw this shot. Ding that bell to be notified whenever my videos go live. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any videos. If you ever seen another YouTube unboxer show off an autographed blood-covered barbed wire door? You can't get content like this anywhere, folks. So always be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. Congrats to Big F and Joe. Hope everybody else was okay. I'll see you next year.